Welcome to our deep dive. The AI news cycle, well, it moves incredibly fast, doesn't it?
It really does. Almost impossible to keep up day to day.
So our goal here is to cut through that noise. We've looked at a whole bunch of sources, news, research, blogs, to figure out what really matters right now.
Exactly. We're aiming to pull out the most significant developments, the key insights, so you stay informed without getting overwhelmed.
Okay, let's jump right in. A big theme today seems to be AI agents automating business processes.
This idea of agentification, it's catching on.
Right. So think of these as smart, sort of autonomous software pieces handling specific tasks, even whole workflows, almost like digital staff members.
We have a concrete example.
We do! Accenture. They've apparently adopted over 450 AI agents from a company called Pipefy.
Wow, 450. That's quite a commitment. What are they using them for?
Primarily transforming internal processes, things like procurement, invoice processing, areas with lots of manual work.
The kind of stuff that's often tedious and error-prone.
Exactly. And reports are suggesting it's already making a difference, like a 15% cut in processing time plus cost savings.
So that's a really tangible example, isn't it? AI isn't just hype here. It's becoming core infrastructure.
It seems like it. Improving efficiency, making things more agile.
Yeah, this agentification trend. It really points towards a future where these digital agents are working alongside human employees pretty routinely.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Generative AI for marketing and content creation is also moving fast.
Absolutely. Huge developments there.
Brand Tech, for instance, they're a marketing tech company, and they're working with Google Cloud.
Right, integrating Google's latest video model, VO2, into their platform, Pencil.
VO2, what's the significance there? What makes it advanced?
Well, VO2 allows for much more realistic, higher-resolution video generation. And crucially, it offers more control over the style, the look, and feel.
So brands can create pretty sophisticated videos faster and maybe cheaper.
That seems to be the promise. It opens doors for more personalized campaigns, more engaging content. It could definitely shake up traditional video production.
Makes sense. And it's not just marketing, right? Entertainment's using it too.
Yeah, the Sphere Wizard of Oz experience is a fascinating case.
How so? What are they doing?
They're using techniques like AI outpainting.
Outpainting. Explain that a bit.
Okay, imagine you have a picture. Outpainting uses AI to kind of extend the canvas, generate what might be just outside the original frame, making the scene bigger.
Ah, okay. So for Wizard of Oz, it lets them expand the world and make it more immersive.
Exactly. And they're also using AI to generate character expressions, things like that. Dr. Stephen Hickson from Google DeepMind mentioned how this makes tasks that seemed impossible, well, possible now.
That's pretty wild. And on the design side, Canva's rolled out a bunch of generative AI features too.
Right, which is important because Canva is so widely used. It makes these powerful tools much more accessible to everyday people, not just specialists.
It really democratizes it, doesn't it? For social media, presentations, all sorts of things.
Definitely.
Now, let's talk about AI's impact on the workforce. This is a big one.
Always a hot topic.
Toby Litke, the CEO of Shopify, made some waves. He's apparently put in a policy where teams need to prove a new role can't be done by AI before they hire a person.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
It is. And he's stressing AI use in daily work, even tying it to performance reviews.
So it's setting a clear expectation. Proficiency with AI is becoming a baseline requirement.
It seems like it. But implementing that, surely there are challenges.
Oh, absolutely. First, how do you even accurately judge if AI can do a role? That requires deep understanding of both the job and the AI's limits.
Good point. And employee morale, job security worries.
That's the second big one. Resistance, anxiety. And third, you might overlook the human element, creativity, collaboration in roles that could be partly automated, but maybe shouldn't be fully.
It's complex, and it connects to this broader trend, right? Tech companies are investing heavily in AI.
While also announcing significant layoffs.
Yeah. Layoffs.fi tracks this stuff. They report over 152,000 tech job cuts just in 2024 so far.
It really forces that question about the net effect on jobs. AI creates new things, but it definitely reshapes demand for existing roles.
The transition could be rough for some sectors.
No doubt. Even within hiring itself, AI has limits.
How so?
A report from CanGrade came out highlighting that AI isn't great at assessing soft skills.
Ah, okay. Things like communication, teamwork, empathy.
Exactly. The AI-generated responses they analyzed often lacked nuance, or they just skewed overly positive. the AI couldn't really gauge the subtleties.
So the human judgment part is still critical for cultural fit and those softer skills.
Very much so. The report suggests different approaches, like maybe assessments without obvious right answers, or timed interviews to see how people think on their feet.
What would one of those assessments look like, roughly?
Maybe giving candidates hypothetical workplace dilemmas, ask how they'd handle a conflict or approach a team project. Focus on their reasoning, not just facts.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift to the infrastructure powering all this AI. Energy demand is a huge topic.
It is. The International Energy Agency, the IEA, put out a report. Data centers running AI are causing a real surge in energy consumption.
But here's the interesting part. They expect renewables to meet most of that new demand through 2035.
That's significant. Renewables first, then natural gas, apparently.
But they also flagged a potential issue. Infrastructure risks could delay about 20% of planned data center projects.
So the grid and supporting infrastructure need to keep pace. It highlights the need for sustainable solutions and careful planning.
Right. And the IEA offers a nuanced view on AI's overall climate impact. It's not all negative.
How so?
Well, while data centers use more power, AI itself could reduce emissions elsewhere. Think grid efficiency improvements, better integration of renewables, even finding methane leaks faster.
So AI could optimize energy systems.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
The IEA estimates maybe a 5% cut in energy-related emissions by 2035 if current AI solutions are widely adopted.
So it's complex. AI's climate impact depends heavily on how we develop and deploy it, and the policies around it.
Definitely not a simple good or bad story. There's still a lot of uncertainty, that whole bubble discussion around AI's trajectory.
Which brings us nicely to public perception versus expert views.
Yeah, the Pew Research Center did a study on this in 2024, found a pretty big optimism gap
Between who?
between AI experts and the general public, specifically about AI's long-term impact. Experts are generally more optimistic.
But are there areas of agreement?
Yes. Both groups are concerned about needing more personal control over AI and worries about government oversight or lack thereof. About 55% of both experts and the public want tighter controls.
Okay, shared concerns there. What about disagreements?
Jobs, mainly. Experts are way more optimistic about AI's impact on work. 73% see it positively. The public, only 23%.
That's a massive gap. What are the public's main job fears?
Roles like cashiers, factory workers, high concern about job losses there.
Makes sense. What other concerns were shared?
Big ones. AI spreading misinformation, huge concern for both. Data misuse, and bias in AI decision-making.
Bias is critical,
Yeah.
especially regarding representation.
Yes, particularly the underrepresentation of women and minorities in AI design teams. About 75% of experts actually believe men's views are currently better reflected in AI systems.
That's a stark admission. Needs addressing.
Definitely. Okay, let's look at some specific new AI applications and tools popping up.
Always something new emerging.
Boson AI has introduced something called Higgs Audio Understanding and Higgs Audio Generation.
Higgs audio. What's the focus there?
Enterprise applications. Businesses dealing with lots of voice and audio data. It points to AI getting much smarter about understanding and even creating audio.
So think advanced voice assistants for customer service, maybe, or analyzing meeting recordings.
Yeah, or generating realistic synthetic voices for different uses. Lots of possibilities.
And speaking of AI agents again, there's an interesting evolution happening there too.
You mean beyond the Accenture example?
Yeah, the conversation around tools like Devon, version 1.0, was pitched as this fully autonomous coder.
Right, caused quite a stir.
But now the talk, maybe around a potential Devon 2.0, seems to be shifting towards more collaborative workspaces. Humans and AI agents working together.
Less full autonomy, more partnership.
Exactly. It seems more pragmatic for complex tasks. And related to that, there's a startup, Mosaic, from Y Combinator,
What are they building?
a general-purpose AI agent, but specifically focused on video editing. So specialized agents for specific creative or technical domains. That makes sense.
And Amazon's in the mix too, with something called Novasonic AI.
Novasonic. What's a special skill?
Understanding tonal cues in speech. Not just the words, but the way they're said.
Detecting emotion, sarcasm, emphasis. That adds a whole new layer to voice interactions.
Could make talking to AI feel much more natural, more intuitive.
Definitely improves the potential user experience.
And just quickly, on the app front, seems like Instagram is finally getting a native iPad app. Less AI-focused, but a tech update nonetheless.
About time for many users, I'd imagine.
Okay, let's zoom out again to strategy. How is AI changing business decision-making at a high level?
There's a clear move away from just relying on gut feeling or intuition. It's becoming much more data-driven.
Powered by AI, obviously.
Right. And studies are showing this pays off. Companies that embed AI deeply into their decision-making tend to be more profitable. Some studies suggest around 20% higher.
So AI's ability to crunch data, find patterns, make predictions, it's becoming a strategic must-have.
It really seems that way. We see it in predictive analytics, forecasting market trends, customer behavior.
And in customer engagement,
Yeah, personalizing recommendations, tailoring marketing. Think Netflix, obviously, but applied much more broadly.
also optimizing operations, right, like logistics.
Definitely. UPS using AI to optimize delivery routes is a classic example. Saving fuel, saving time, and just providing real-time intelligence to react faster to changes. Coca-Cola uses it for trend analysis to guide new product ideas.
But it's not easy, right? What are the main hurdles companies face putting this into practice?
Several big ones. Data quality is always number one. Garbage in, garbage out.
True.
Ethical concerns are huge bias in the data or algorithms, privacy issues, lack of transparency in how decisions are made.
And finding the people who actually know how to build and manage these systems.
Exactly. The talent shortage is still very real. You need a solid strategy, the right people, good data governance.
And tools to help bridge the gap. I saw mention of ARG retrieval augmented generation.
Ah, yes. RG is a clever approach. It lets you take a powerful, generalist, large language model like a GPT-4, but make it smarter about specific private data without full retraining.
How does that work, basically?
It retrieves relevant information from your specific knowledge base, say internal company documents or a security database, and gives that context to the general LLM when it generates an answer, so the answers are more accurate and domain-specific.
Like the Elastic AI assistant for security example they mentioned, using RAG to answer security-specific questions based on Elastic's data.
Precisely. It makes general models useful for very specialized tasks.
Okay, we also touched on regulation concerns earlier. Any specific moves on that front?
Well, locally, San Diego County supervisors are looking into creating a formal policy for how their staff can use AI.
So governments and organizations are starting to grapple with setting guidelines internally.
Yes, reflecting those broader public and expert concerns, we talked about the need for more oversight.
And zooming out even further, there's the whole geopolitical dimension.
Absolutely. Boston Consulting Group did an analysis on the geopolitics of generative AI,
What was the gist?
highlighting the intense global competition, particularly the dominance of superpowers like the US and China in driving development and setting standards. It's become a key area of international strategic focus.
Makes sense. One last area, AI and gaming. Anything interesting there?
There's a mention of Meta's Rebel AI algorithm.
Rebel, what did it do?
It achieved a breakthrough in imperfect information games, specifically poker.
Poker. How was the breakthrough?
It learned how to bluff effectively. In games like poker, where you don't know the opponent's hand, bluffing is crucial. Previous AIs struggle with this complexity.
So it learned a very human-like strategy in a complex setting.
Kind of. It relates to game theory concepts like the Nash equilibrium. Essentially, it learned optimal strategies even with hidden information, which is a big step for AI in complex, real-world-like scenarios.
Fascinating. Okay, I think that covers a lot of ground for today's AI news landscape.
It really does, a snapshot, but it shows just how widespread the developments are.
From internal business processes and energy grids to hiring, content creation, even poker strategy.
It's all interconnected, feeding into this broader story of AI's growing influence.
Absolutely. So that brings us to our final thought for everyone listening. We've heard about rapid advancements, the energy demands, the differing views between experts and the public.
The workforce impacts, the ethical questions.
Right. Given all that, what do you think are the most critical conversations we need to be having right now to make sure AI actually benefits society as a whole?
Where should the focus be? Job displacement, ethics, regulation, data privacy, misinformation.
What needs the most urgent attention from individuals, from businesses, from governments? Something I'm all over.
Definitely food for thought. We encourage you to think about these connections and maybe explore some of these areas further.